Jay Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from theshrinkingpastor.com.
And you are the Shrinking Pastor.
Yeah, getting there.
You know, you're hiding less of the dirty shop these days.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're going to have to move the camera up, I think.
Yeah.
Together, the three of us, we're Marco and Ben's Breakfast Club. Welcome back once again. How much weight have you lost? Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, so since April 6th, which is when I started keto, I've lost 120 pounds. So I started at 517 pounds, and I'm currently 396 pounds. So it's the first time my scales had a 3 as the first number in a long time. A long time. I probably haven't weighed this little since... I probably weighed more than this since I've been married. That's 10 years.
And you're 6 foot what?
6'3".
6'3"?
6'3". So I've always carried it very well. It's only been the last, 40 pounds that I added on once I crested over the 500 mark, where it really started to make a significant difference.
You started traveling more. You started flying more.
Started traveling more, but even then, a lot of the stuff was fine. One of the biggest... people always ask, what do you notice, or don't you feel better? And for the longest time, my response was, no, not really. I mean, it's, when you are 450 pounds, 500 pounds isn't actually that big of a difference. Percentage-wise, it's not that significant of a difference. And so, seatbelts still don't fit. Seats are still uncomfortable. When you sit on picnic chairs, you're still worried about them collapsing underneath you. All of those things are ever present. But now I'm to the point where I've noticed certain things being different. I used to, some cars, I couldn't get the seatbelt on all the way. And so when riding in an Uber for work, I would always sit in the back, because if you sit in the front and you can't put the seatbelt on, then the alarm goes off the whole ride, and so it's less embarrassing to sit in the back because that doesn't happen. Not been an issue. I haven't had that problem in a while. It's crazy to me to think that on my birthday, which was April 1st, on my birthday just a few months ago, every time I went up the stairs at my house, I was carrying my 3 children with me, compared to where I am now.
That's amazing.
And so, starting to feel more of those things. I feel great. Most days will either eat a light lunch or no lunch at all, and we'll just eat one meal or meal and a snack. Have just gotten to the point where I was laughing with Allison the other day. My thinking about a lot of things has started to change, and so I'm talking about the food I'm eating more. I feel like a health food person, or a healthy person. I spent the other night watching videos on YouTube about diet and exercise, all stuff about keto, but how it works, the science behind it, all these things that I would have laughed at somebody for doing a year ago. Just the other day, I was like, I want to start integrating some exercise. So I started doing yoga, working to do that 3 times a week.
Wow.
So yeah, feeling great.
Good for you. I don't think that I have ever uttered any of the numbers that my scale has screamed at me. But I'll go ahead and out myself here. My all-time high 2 years ago, when my doctor said, we cannot fix your knees in the way that we should until you lose 100 pounds. That day I was 345 pounds.
See, I am 62 pounds away from his heaviest.
But I'm 6 foot tall.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And I am now somewhere around 260. I actually dipped into the 50s, but I can't stay there. I'm about 260 right at this moment. And
so close.
I know. This is the lightest I've been in 20 years.
It's amazing.
And
doing great.
And a ways to go yet. Again, I'm within eyesight now of hitting that goal that my doctor set for me, and then finally being able to get my knees fixed. I've stopped wearing my leg brace, partially because I can, and partially because I've been advised that, you really got to build those muscles up, and I was noticing that maybe I was letting that leg brace do a lot more work than I should have.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't letting me build up the muscles in my leg. It was offloading weight passing my knee.
Right.
And that's nice. That's
right.
really nice that it was doing that, but it wasn't helping me build the muscle in my knee. So
Yeah.
I'm at a different stage now, and it's kind of nice.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. What I notice, again, I do fly a lot, and since starting the low carb diet, so that's been since January, and since January I've lost probably 45 pounds of the weight that I've lost. I don't have to ask for a seatbelt extension on any flight. It's really weird because it varies from flight to flight. The size of the airplane determines how big the seatbelts are.
Yeah.
And but let's say last November, there wasn't a flight I could take in the U.S. that I didn't have to ask for a seatbelt extender, and I haven't had to ask for one.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an embarrassing thing. I know I'm a fat guy. I know that.
Yep.
But to have to raise my hand and say that, hey, I'm a fat guy, can you help me out here? It's nice to be able to pass on that. So.
Oh, I mean, I'm with you. I still need those, but so there's a strong likelihood I'll be traveling overseas in February, and I've been terrified of the prospect. One, for just the travel sake, because being stuck in a plane for that long, don't know what that's going to be. But then two, I have since I've started a job where I'm traveling more, I won't even make an attempt to use an airplane bathroom because I'm just afraid of what happens when I try to fit in that door. Or can I fit in the door? Can I fit in the room?
Yeah.
Can I close it? I don't know. And so knowing that I've got a few months until that travel, a few months to continue to lose more, and adding in exercise and things, I'm not scared. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. So it's great. Hey, we need some tobacco to smoke.
Yeah, we do. So last week we started this project to smoke our way through tobacco 1 through 6 from the little pipe tobacconist in Nagel, Germany, Tabak Ladle. And this is Own Mixture number 2, which I have never smoked, therefore he's never smoked. And I'm looking forward to trying all of these. The last one wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It's funny coming off of Thanksgiving talking about weight loss, but we got together and we're talking about, with my sister and my wife and brother-in-law and brother-in-law, what all are we going to have, at the table? And I'm like, well, I'm going to smoke a turkey and I'm going to cook a turkey in the oven. And they're like, well, what sides are we going to make? Well, that's up to you guys. I'm not eating any sides.
Turkey.
Chris says, oh, I'm going to make a ham. Oh, good. That's 3 meats I can have. Turkey, and ham. What is that? That's a...
So one thing we should have done last week is show you the cut on this. So this is slightly different. This has maybe... Yeah, it's got some perique in there. This was Tobacco 1. You can tell just by the color of it that it's cut.
So I'm going to switch pipes.
Of course.
I pulled out way too generous a bowl for that tobacco.
I'm going full in.
All right, knock yourself out, boy. Don't forget, you're going to be talking this episode.
That's fine.
Okay. So we talked about a little bit what we should talk about tonight, and we've had a number of people since we spoke a few weeks back about 3D printing, and Seth finally getting the 3D printer back online, asking some questions about that, and that brought about his answer that he's making some Dungeons and Dragons characters, also spurred some conversations about the game. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about both those things today. Do you have some that you can show us that you've been making? And what are they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're characters, but how?
Let's start with role playing games. Let's start with D&D, and we'll build up to
What is
where the characters or what I've been making fits into.
How satanic is this game that you're playing? You
Super
start by
satanic.
drawing a pentagram, scratching it into the tabletop, and then what?
No, it's into our wrists. Yeah.
Hey guys, so this actually went really long, so we're cutting it for time. But essentially we're talking about D&D and what it is. D&D, or Dungeons and Dragons, is a role-playing game where you have a group of people, one of whom is the dungeon master. They're kind of the narrator or storyteller of the game. They are also the keeper of the rules. And then all of the other players have a single character that they play. They have a character sheet. Their character has specific skills and abilities. And then the dungeon master tells a story, gives a situation for the characters, and then the players get to play out the scenario as their characters would. So, for instance, if your character is an orc fighter, then you might try to resolve a conflict by fighting. Whereas if you're a wizard, you might cast a spell, or if you're a rogue, you might try to sneak away. Ultimately, it's a team effort for the group to try to resolve whatever conflict is taking place. Usually the overall plot of the story involves saving the world, or saving the town, or saving something in some way or form. Each player has a character sheet. There are core rule books that dictate what the character sheet can and can't have and how the rules are played. And then for a lot of the actions in the game, those are dictated by a roll of a dice. And so what we're about to talk about is the play board and how to help organize some of the combat. Many times a board is used during the combat situations, but when there's not combat taking place, it's all conversational. It's almost like a choose-your-own-adventure story. I'd recommend checking out some channels on YouTube if you want to learn more. There are also some great resources online. It's a lot of fun, easy to get into. There are some other versions of role-playing games that are not as complicated as Dungeons and Dragons that I would highly recommend that you check out.
So, I have started printing miniatures, and many of these, actually all of these, are for campaigns that I have been a part of. So this was one of the first ones. This is one of the first ones that I did. This is a witch. This is, if you're familiar, this is Babala Saga. Babala Saga is a witch, classic witch from many campaigns of D&D. She showed up in several places. And one of the things that she has is a creeping hut. Now, this is a hut that is conscious and will protect her.
What?
And so I printed the hut. Now, the hut that I printed in several pieces. And you can glue these pieces together, or to make it easier for travel, I added magnets to them. And so they actually snap together like that. So this is a creeping hut. So this might be placed down, and this is not even anywhere close to being to scale. And then some of the other pieces I have, I've got a dragon here that I've 3D printed. And then I have a whole bunch of small figures. So I have been running a campaign where we've been using Skittles as our characters. And I went ahead and decided to print characters for them in that campaign. So this is, I love the scale. By the way, I don't do any 3D printing design. I haven't gotten into that yet. So these are all free prints that I've found online. So for scale, this is a monster. This creature is called an owlbear. It's called an owlbear, and it's quite large. So the next largest creature I have printed here. This is a human warrior. This is played by my wife, which is funny when you'll see the other characters. So in the game, we have a halfling rogue that my wife, it's played by my cousin. My wife calls the halfling rogue Hobbitas. And so the prints, you can see they actually reflect the size difference between the two character types. Some of these are very complex. I've got a dragon, dragonkind with a bow. There's a wizard with a book and staff. I've got a dwarf. And here's another archer.
And again, these are the characters that you've been playing with Skittles.
Yep.
To represent them.
And then
have they seen these yet?
No, I haven't seen these yet. This will be a surprise for the next time we play, which will probably be the last time we play with these characters. But and then these are two animals. So this is a cat, and then an owl, and the owl's on a stand. So you know, when we're playing, they will have their characters. They will have their characters on a grid. I always map out the grid when we get into combat situations or like a large area that they need to just have an understanding of what the layout is. And so they'll play these against Skittles or other pieces. A lot of players, like recently I took and printed off some circular pictures that represent some of the different monsters and glued them to washers.
You know what these monsters need to be? Carbohydrates.
Yeah. Well, no, they are. I mean, the Skittles are. When you're a normal player, part of the fun of playing with Skittles is that when you defeat an enemy, you get to eat it.
Oh, fun.
Right. It's a lot of fun. I didn't get into it until I was 18. I missed playing as a kid. But I love it. I'm a part of now several campaigns, and I start to get an itch. You know, it's something I enjoy so much that when I haven't been able to play, there's often difficulty getting people's schedules to work out. I start to want to dive into it. So it's a ton of fun.
That sounds interesting. Now, if you were playing with a group, which I know you do, how long of a commitment are you talking about if you're going to play this and complete a campaign?
Yeah, so to give you a frame of reference, so the campaign is like the chapter, or think of it as, maybe it's not a chapter, think of it as a book, but oftentimes you can play multiple campaigns with the same characters. So, you know, Harry Potter 1 through 7, same characters, different stories each book. And even though they all take place in the same world, that often happens with D&D. And so to complete one campaign, we used to get together with our group about once every other week, or a minimum of once a month, and we would play for probably 4 hours at a session, and it took us about 2 years to get through a campaign.
Oh my gosh.
So we are now close to finishing our third campaign with this group, but we've been playing with them for 7 years. It has become harder as we've had more children, some of them have had children,
and you get
to get together. Now it's been probably 6 months since the last time we got together because we just had schedule conflicts.
You were setting aside was it a night a week?
Yeah, it was a night every 2 to 4 weeks that we would get together and play from like 6:30 till 9:30, 6:30 to 10 every couple weeks.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun. You can, if you don't have that kind of time commitment, and there are people that will play, like, if you've got the time, there are people that will play from 6 o'clock at night until 6 a.m. You know, they'll play a full 12 hours, or they'll play a whole weekend, and that's fun if you have the time to do. There are people that play for just a couple of hours a month. You know, finding the time can be difficult. There are some role-playing games that take more time than others, some that take less. So this game I'm playing with my son will take, the longest campaign session is 90 minutes, is what they predict. Most of them are 30 to 60, which is good for a 6-year-old. It's good time. So.
Well, I'm curious if you have played any of these games. I haven't. You know, I grew up in that era in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, where Dungeons and Dragons was just beginning to to pop up. And the kids that were playing it were juvenile delinquents and punks in general. And I think they were learning while they were in after-school suspension or something.
Yeah.
And so there was this fear of what Dungeons and Dragons was. Oh, and there's incantations and
witchcraft and
witchcraft.
demons.
So good Christian boys shouldn't be playing this game. And so I avoided it. And then years later, some really good friends of mine were talking about playing this. Like, what are you playing this for? Come to find out, it's actually kind of interesting. So
it is, and you can play it a lot of different ways. There are Star Wars Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. There are all different. My brother-in-law did one that was set in the Roaring 20s, where everyone was gangsters instead of being players. You know, there are some that are heist focused. A lot of them are save the world or save whatever the local world is. And it's the sort of thing where once you understand the core concepts and can share it, it's great to be able to share it with other people. It's a lot of fun to get them to play, because I've only played with one person who at the end of the play session didn't get it and didn't enjoy their time. My wife thought it was going to be stupid, and she's like, no, it's storytelling, it's fun once you get into it. Now there are some people that take it way too seriously and play so strictly by the rules that it can't be fun while you're learning. We don't do that. We're very loose with the rules because we'd rather people have fun than be a stickler for that.
Well, these are cool little things that you've made.
Yeah. I had some big failures too.
See how that could add to the fun. What happened here?
It's just bent over time. This was the biggest failure I've had with it. This was a dragon, and I really liked the design, but in order to get the arms to print and some of the other pieces to print, I had to use supports. So this one I tried printing without supports. I then did it again with supports, but with supports, the supports, it's just so thin because I had to scale it down so much to fit my printer that with the supports, as I go to take those off, the wings start to break. And so I had to abandon this design and go to this one, which is standing upright, and it's fine. I don't need to print them.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, though.
A lot of people will paint them. A lot of people take them and get them painted. You can also buy them. You can buy metal minifigures, or Hero Forge is a website where you can design your own, and they will 3D print them in a high quality 3D print. And so you can add on different weapons and make it really customized to the character that you play. My brother-in-law played his same character for probably 10 years in a campaign. It was the same character. The 3 campaigns we've played, we've changed characters every time. But
well, pretty cool. Well, we should wrap this up.
Yeah, I've gone way too long. But thank you for watching.
I wonder if this is a 2-parter, or if half of this is.
No. It's unlikely.
Yeah,
unlikely because we didn't smoke. That's what we do. We didn't smoke tobacco number 3 for part 2.
You're right.
So we can't do that.
Did you smoke any of tobacco number 2?
Yeah, I did.
Which thing?
I did. Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah, it's all right. Between 1 and 2.
I'd probably smoke 2 again.
I think you're right.
Whoa! You smoked much more of that than I was expecting you to.
I know I did. It's got some personality to it.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Thanks for joining us. Let's wrap it up. Make it a great week. Answer below. Tell us if you've ever played these games, what you think of them, and what do you think of this 3D printing stuff? It's kind of cool, actually.
If you know anyone who enjoys hanging out with their friends and would like to do more of that, get them a Dungeons and Dragons book or starter kit for Christmas. It's coming up. It's a great opportunity to share that with somebody.
Can you make a recommendation? Can you put it down below?
I would recommend The Lost Minds of Phandelver. I can never remember which one.
We can get on Amazon or
yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. We'll have it. Okay. It's in a box. It has everything you would need to set up a game, or everything they would need to set up a game with their friends.
Cool.
Tons of videos on YouTube as well of how to play, what to do. People playing it. So
neat. All right.
Thanks.
Make it a great week.
Bye.
Bye, John.